Well, actually, that's a pretty good link. So I wasn't going to go to this game initially, but let's go on to two teams who could find themselves sitting in that chair when the music stops. St Johnstone versus Ross County. St Johnstone 1, Ross County 0. I watched this. I didn't.
Yeah. You told me specifically not to, Craig.
I watched this so you don't have to. So you guys didn't have to. So none of you, nobody watched this. The first half was absolutely atrocious. Like the worst 45 minutes of football I've easily seen this season. It was like the ball was accidentally kicked into a dodgems at the fairground, and it was just pinging around with no rhyme or reason.
Quite good fun.
Nobody had control. Like if I say nobody had control of it, I don't even mean like no team had control of it. Like no player had control of it. It was shocking. There was twice in the space of a minute where a Ross County player tried to make a pass to somebody near the touchline, and both times they passed out for a throw-in, but each time it was the exact same. They just passed it out. Like the guy getting there just didn't get there in time. It was the exact same thing that happened twice in the space of a minute. And that was like within the first 5, and immediately I was like, oh, this is going to be terrible, isn't it? And the first half. I mean, the second half wasn't much better, but it was better. Yeah, it was a dreadful, dreadful game of football.
But I think Craig Levein to me was a very astute appointment for that squad that St Johnstone have got, because Craig Levein is very good at making a silk purse out of a sosier. He is very good at basically taking shit players and just playing shit football with them in such a way that is effective, and he's done it multiple times in the past. And he's also good at legacy building. Like there's a lot of things that like if you talk about St Johnstone and the fact they lack structure, bringing in Craig Levein almost gives them like a guy who is going to have an eye on the bigger picture as well. And I'm a big fan of him in general, and there's criticisms that people can have of him quite rightly, and his transfer record at Hearts in that last spell was abysmal, but he is, I think they've made the best possible appointment within their budget to give them a chance of staying up, and you've already seen it pay off, because they probably should have won in midweek, and then they did indeed get the win in this one. And he will not let them go on a big losing run, and that might be enough to keep them above water. I think they are probably still
can't go on too big a losing run because they'll win at Easter Road.
No, exactly that. But they're probably still alongside County and Livingston. I think those are the 3 worst teams in the league, but they have given themselves a much bigger chance than I think we thought they had.
Sure, we're not including Motherwell in that now.
They've just got a wee bit more. Wee bit more. Lennon Miller might return at some point, just stuff like that I don't think these clubs have got. But I thought it was a really nice goal, and obviously quite poignant for Graham Carey as well, who, to be honest, not being the best of players for St Johnstone since he went there, but he looked like he had a pretty alright game in terms of being involved. Well, yes, good, well done.
I actually saw afterwards, like a St Johnstone fan said he thought he had a good game. I was like, I'm still not really sure about that. I thought Dan Phillips had a very good game. He was the one player. He was the one player in the first half. I was like, he's the only midfielder with a semblance of control of what's actually going on here. And then in the second half, he was even better. Like, he really did impress me. And he's actually impressed me quite a lot since his initial first 3-4 months where he looked hopeless. But he's somebody that just seems like has a real knack of popping up in the right areas. Luke Robinson, I thought as well, it's probably the best I've seen him play so far. I thought he was quite good, especially getting forward. Myself and Craig will cover his body slam of Victor Latore on the Patreon when it comes to that, as we do a ref review. But other than that, he was decent defensively, and it was one of the kind of few forward players in the first half, particularly, that was actually doing something. I just kind of want to moan about Malky Mackay though in Ross County. Don't really know what Malky Mackay's doing. So, I mean, to be fair, St Johnstone were sitting with a fairly deep back line, but I looked at the teams, and you look at Simon Murray playing up front for Ross County, and you look at St Johnstone with Ryan McGowan, Liam Gordon, and Andrew Considine. McGowan and Considine both over 30. Gordon never fast. Like, that's got to be one of the slowest back threes you can ever put together. And you got Simon Murray in the team, and there was just nothing. There was nothing in their play that enabled Murray to test them and to exploit them. It was just shite. And Jan Dander, obviously a very good player. I don't know if it's tactical or if it's him, but he needs to stop popping up in like the fullback areas. He needs to get further forward, and he needs to be roughly. He doesn't have to stay within the width of the post because he's not a centre forward, but he needs to be roughly in that area so he can play a through ball to centre forward to score. He's not going to do anything when he's out with left back, and so many times he pops up there. It makes no sense.
I think maybe Malky Mackay saw Ross County as his way back into football, and has now discovered that is his punishment. That's your purgatory. You're gonna one day be sacked by Ross County for because I've said it many times. He's many things, but a bad football manager with a bad track record is not one of them. And in the last few games, it does look like the sense of coherence and the sense of we've the ability to identify one or two things that might make a difference in a given game just don't seem to be there. The same sort of enthusiasm doesn't seem to be there.
I think his days are numbered, actually, because I think there's just a malaise in general there that's not necessarily around any of the other clubs that are down the bottom. Like, the fans don't like him, they mostly never liked him, and they're grim. They're a very grim team to watch. Like, there's nothing enjoyable about Ross County, and there wasn't last season either, to be honest.
The flourishes when there's odd players who seem to come in, like Yandanda, where you're like, oh, they've got a player there. And then it's like, no, you can't have the nice things. We'll leave him on the bench for a 0-0 draw against St Johnstone.
They did have Eamon Brophy missing, who has played well for them, and they have looked a better team when he's in it. They did look very good. I was impressed with them in this, against Motherwell, particularly in the second half against Motherwell. I thought they played really decent football. I thought, well, there's a blueprint to go forward with. And yes, you are missing Brophy for this one, and that does affect the way you're going to play if you're going to replace him with Jordan White.
But if you sign an injury-prone player, he's not going to play. Like, that's fundamentally you can't build a team around him. And they spent allegedly 6 figures on Jay Henderson. He's barely been seen.
I completely forgot he was.
But they got exactly.
He must surely be injured as well because he wasn't on the bench and they didn't even fill their bench.
But they got exactly what St Mirren had in Jay Henderson, which was an inconsistent young player, but they paid money that he just simply wasn't worth. Because I think, as far as I know, we were interested in him because I think he's got connections. He's from Ayrshire, I think, got connections. And then as soon as it was like, no, we'll need to pay St Mirren compensation, it's like, oh, okay, no, this project player is not worth that gamble. But I mean, I know Ross County got a substantial sum from Ross Stewart's transfer, but doesn't feel like it's been well spent either.